Did you ever meet someone so kind, so genuine, that for a second you questioned if they were even real? Like maybe you stumbled into a parallel universe where humans still treated each other with warmth and sincerity, and it wasn't just some marketing gimmick from a toothpaste commercial. Yeah, it's rare, but it happens. And when it does, it hits harder than your morning espresso with 2 shots of existential dread. Now, let's talk about Finland, the land of silent forests, freakishly punctual public transportation, and more saunas than people. These folks don't just survive winter, they romance it. They treat negative 20 degrees like it's beach weather. You know those viral videos where someone jumps into an ice hole and doesn't scream? That's not a stunt. That's a Tuesday in Helsinki. But under all that quiet stoicism lies something tender, something human, and apparently something that can be moved to tears. Enter the Filipinos. You might be thinking, what do warm sun-loving, karaoke-slaying islanders have to do with the snow-dusted land of reindeer and repressed emotions? Well, everything. Because when a group of Filipino caregivers working in Finland touched the heart of Prime Minister Thonymj, she didn't just get emotional, she got so overwhelmed she couldn't even speak. And trust me, when a politician stops talking, that's rarer than a unicorn sighting at a DMV. You see, in a world that often feels like it's running on apathy and lukewarm lattes, kindness stands out. Genuine, no strings attached, warm you from the inside out kind of kindness. Filipinos have this secret superpower. They care. And not just in the I liked your Instagram post kind of way. I mean real care. The kind that shows up when you're at your worst, folds your laundry, makes you soup, sings you love songs while applying Vicks Vapor Rub on your back, and still somehow manages to smile. Prime Minister Marin, who usually projects that classic Finnish coolness, like a Bond villain who writes poetry on the weekends, got absolutely wrecked emotionally when speaking about these Filipino workers. Wrecked in the best way. She said their presence, their work, their love moved her. And when someone who's built an entire national identity around silence and subtlety says that, you better believe it's real. Now, Finland's no stranger to hardship. I mean, these people have fought off everyone from the Swedes to the Soviets. They endured wars, civil strife, and enough snow to bury your entire self-esteem. And yet, through all that, they emerged strong, egalitarian, efficient as hell, and somehow still humble. Like if IKEA were a country, but with more integrity and fewer missing screws. And the Philippines? Well, that's a different flavor of resilience. Centuries of colonization, decades of political drama, storms that make you think God's playing SimCity on hard mode, and yet the people keep singing, keep smiling, and keep showing up for each other. It's like they were genetically engineered to be indestructible and still adorable. You ever try to make a Filipino mad? Good luck. You'll end up apologizing for even trying, and while you're doing that, they'll hand you a plate of pancit and ask how your mom's doing. It's that kind of spirit that shook Finland to its icy core. These caregivers, Filipinos working in elder care, health care, and other support roles in Finland, weren't just punching the clock. They were changing lives. They were bringing a little sunshine into the long, dark Scandinavian winters. One smile, one story, one act of kindness at a time. And that's where it gets really interesting. Because when you strip away the politics, the policies, the economic forecasts, and all that government jazz, what really sticks with people? It's the human stuff. The stuff you can't quantify. A comforting hand, a warm meal, a nurse who knows when to talk and when to just sit there and be present. That's the magic. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, this is sweet, but why is it such a big deal? Let me ask you something. When's the last time you felt truly seen? Not because you posted a thirst trap on Instagram or aced a job interview, but because someone looked at you, really looked at you, and gave a damn. Filipinos do that, like it's their job. Like it's encoded in their DNA. It's empathy on steroids. And in a country like Finland, where emotions are often buried deeper than their vodka reserves, that kind of presence is a revelation. So when Prime Minister Marin got up there ready to deliver a speech about the contributions of foreign workers, and instead found herself choked up, stammering, pausing, overwhelmed, it wasn't weakness. It was humanity. It was the reality check we all need sometimes. That no matter how smart your government is, no matter how well your systems run, what really holds society together isn't efficiency. It's people. It's the unsung heroes, the ones cleaning the floors, caring for your grandparents, making sure the hospital bed is comfortable, and sneaking in a joke when the day feels too heavy. That's what Filipinos brought to Finland. Not just labor, not just service, soul, joy, presence. And while we're on the subject, can we talk about how the rest of the world sees these people? Too often, Filipino workers are treated like background characters in someone else's story. Overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs as they're called, are quietly holding up the economies and emotional well-being of dozens of countries around the globe. They're sending money home, raising other people's kids, healing strangers, keeping the wheels turning, and all the while they're missing birthdays, anniversaries, their own lives back home. So when someone as powerful as Finland's Prime Minister acknowledges that with tears in her eyes, you better believe that matters. It sends a message, not just to Finland, but to the whole world. A message that says, look, these aren't just workers. These are people, heroes even, and they deserve more than our gratitude. They deserve our respect, our protection, our voice. I mean, who knew that one of the coldest countries in the world could have one of the warmest moments on record? This isn't about politics. It's not about migration policy or labor statistics. It's about something simple, something primal, the deep, universal desire to feel valued, to know your work matters, that your presence, your very existence, leaves the world a little better than it was yesterday. And that's what Filipinos did. They showed up, they cared, they gave, and without saying much, they made the Prime Minister of Finland speechless. Now that's impact, that's power, that's real. It makes you think. What would the world look like if more people had that kind of spirit? If more of us operated from love instead of ego? If we stopped pretending that success is about how loud you are or how many followers you've got and remembered that the quietest people are often the strongest? Because at the end of the day, the best legacy isn't measured in money or medals or LinkedIn endorsements. It's in how you made people feel. So if you're watching this and you've ever had a Filipino friend, coworker, nurse, nanny, helper, or neighbor, maybe take a second and let them know they matter. Not in a cheesy, over-the-top way. Just be real, be present, like they've been for so many of us. And if you're a Filipino watching this, know this. The world sees you. Maybe not always, maybe not loudly enough, but you matter. You're magic. And even in the coldest corners of the planet, your warmth is being felt. Even in Finland, even by a prime minister, even by the rest of us who needed that reminder. So there she was, Finland's leader, handed a traditional Filipino bag, woven by hands that have likely done more good in a week than most of us manage in a year. And no, it wasn't a Gucci. It wasn't high fashion. But it was something better. It was human, honest. You could tell the gift came from people who didn't just clock in and out. These are the people who know how to show up. Not with noise, not with ego, but with heart. You ever get a gift so thoughtful it makes your voice crack? That's what happened. Not because the bag had diamonds or gold or some fancy logo that screams, "Look at me, I need attention," number. It was meaningful. Like your grandma's cooking or that one person who texts you just to check if you're still breathing and not buried under your laundry. The Prime Minister held that bag like it was a relic, not just a token of appreciation, but a symbol of connection. Across continents, cultures, accents, and wildly different coffee preferences, there was this moment. One of those rare scenes in real life that doesn't need music swelling in the background or spotlight. It's just pure, unscripted, real. Now, let's get one thing straight. Finland didn't get to where it is by handing out hugs and hoping for the best. This is a country that took education and turned it into a competitive sport with less yelling. A place where being a teacher is as respected as being a surgeon, and where kids get recess like it's a human right, not a punishment for finishing worksheets. Their system isn't perfect, but it works because it values people. Imagine that. Meanwhile, over in the Philippines, success doesn't come wrapped in government programs or strategic 5-year plans. It comes in the form of passion, persistence, and pansit. You want to see grit? Watch a Filipina mother juggle 3 jobs, raise her kids, pay the bills, and still find time to dye her hair lavender for church on Sunday. That's strength. That's a superhero origin story right there. Filipinos don't need a social safety net to have each other's backs. They've got community. The kind of community where you could be halfway through crying about your breakup when someone brings you a Tupperware of adobo and says, you need to eat first. Emotional triage with a side of rice. So when these two worlds collide, Finland's cold logic and the Philippines' warm spirit, it's not oil and water, it's whiskey and ice. Different temperatures, same glass. And when it works beautifully. That day in the hospital, what Prime Minister Marin witnessed wasn't just a well-oiled healthcare operation. She saw something rare. Nurses and caregivers who weren't just treating symptoms. They were treating loneliness, fear, isolation. You can't train for that. That doesn't come from a textbook. That comes from growing up in a place where you're taught to take your shoes off at the door and leave your ego outside with them. Let's not pretend these Filipino workers had it easy. They left behind families, hometowns, mango trees, and the only people who understand their inside jokes. They flew thousands of miles to live in a place where the sun clocks out at 3 p.m. in winter and small talk is illegal. Okay, not technically illegal, but socially punished. And still, they adapt. They learn the language, respect the customs, put their heads down, and get to work. Not because they're martyrs, but because they see meaning in what they do. They're not just clocking in, they're showing up for humanity. Now let's fast forward a little. Word about that emotional meeting spreads. Suddenly, Finnish media isn't just talking about snow tires and parliamentary budgets. They're talking about empathy, about sacrifice, about the immigrants who are literally and figuratively carrying the country through its hardest moments. And you know what happens next? Finland starts to pay attention. I mean, really pay attention. There are talks in parliament, community initiatives, awards, policy shifts, not because someone screamed about it on social media, but because someone cried about it in real life. And let's talk about crying, shall we? Crying gets a bad rap. People act like it's weak. Like if your tear ducts activate, you've lost control. But tears aren't weakness. They're honesty in liquid form. And if you can't cry when someone hands you a hand-woven bag filled with metaphorical meaning and generational sacrifice, then your soul might need a software update. It's amazing how one act of kindness can do what no PowerPoint presentation ever could, make people feel. Because facts don't change hearts, stories do. Humanity does. And that's what those Filipino workers brought into the cold halls of a Finnish hospital, a different kind of medicine. One that doesn't come with side effects or government approvals. Just care. Plain, powerful care. Let's also address the quiet strength it takes to be an immigrant. That kind of emotional elasticity where you're expected to thrive in a culture that isn't yours, raise your kids in a language you didn't grow up speaking, and still smile politely when someone mispronounces your name, like it's an IKEA product. And they do it, day after day. Not because they want a parade, but because they believe in something bigger than comfort. They believe in service, in doing right by others, in being the kind of person who leaves every room warmer than they found it. It's the same spirit that brought a woven bag into the hands of a world leader. And not just any world leader, a Finnish one. A country where silence is sacred and compliments are rare enough to be collectible. Yet here we are, talking about a woman brought to tears and a nation that took notice. So what's the lesson here? It's not that one country has all the answers or that another should copy its playbook. It's that humanity works best when we borrow the best parts of each other. Finland's systems and policies paired with Filipino soul and spirit, that's a combo platter worth ordering. And if the rest of the world is paying attention, which, let's be honest, is a big if, there's something here to learn. Not about foreign labor markets or healthcare logistics, but about how we value people, how we treat the ones who show up for us, quietly, consistently, with no expectation of praise. The pandemic tested us all. It exposed the cracks, amplified the noise, and stripped away the things we thought mattered. But in the middle of all that chaos, it also spotlighted the people who actually mattered. the healers, the helpers, the humble warriors who showed up, masked up, and held our collective sanity together with latex gloves and human decency. So next time you're tempted to judge someone by their accent, their outfit, their job title, remember this. Somewhere out there, someone left behind everything they knew just to hold the hand of your grandmother while she fought to breathe. Someone gave their comfort so you could keep yours. And if that doesn't deserve recognition, respect, and a damn national holiday, I don't know what does. Prime Minister Thonymj standing there, that woven Filipino bag in her hands, dead silence wrapping the room like a warm, awkwardly timed hug. And not the side hug your aunt gives you when she's not sure if you're still single. Number. This silence had weight, history, emotion. It was the kind of silence that said, something real just happened here. The kind that makes your throat tighten and your eyes water. And you have no idea if it's because of feelings or just really strong air conditioning. You see, in that exact moment, Maren wasn't a prime minister. She wasn't a polished political figure with a carefully crafted speech and a team of PR people crouched in the wings like caffeinated meerkats. She was just a human being. One human staring into the tired but determined eyes of a bunch of other humans who had given up everything just to help. And these weren't the folks who send one email and call it a day. These were the doers. The ones scrubbing hospital floors while humming songs from home. The ones whispering prayers in Tagalog while holding the trembling hand of someone's grandma who hadn't had a visitor in weeks. The ones working double shifts, smiling through back pain and homesickness because quitting just isn't part of the plan. Now let's talk about that bag, the bignon. Woven with patterns passed down through generations, probably from a grandma who knew how to cook 5 different dishes at once, do laundry without electricity, and survive on gossip and coffee alone. It wasn't just a gift, it was a story, a legacy, a message. It said, we are here, we care, and we haven't forgotten where we come from, even if we're now living in a land where the sun forgets to rise for half the year. And Maren got it. You could see it in her face. She didn't just receive a gift, she felt it, like someone handed her a piece of the soul of an entire people. No wrapping paper, no receipt, just raw, handcrafted humanity. Of course, the media latched onto the story like a teenager on Wi-Fi. Suddenly, the viral machine kicked into gear. Headlines, hashtags, think pieces from people who haven't worked a physical job since their high school summer internship at that frozen yogurt place their uncle owned. Everyone had something to say. But the people this really hit, the ones working quietly behind the scenes, the OFWs, the migrant nurses, the caregivers, the essential workers who'd been making society function while everyone else argued about toilet paper and Netflix recommendations. They saw that video, and for a split second they felt seen, heard, validated. They didn't need a gold medal or a viral TikTok dance. Just a little recognition, a hey, we see you. Because when your job involves caring for strangers in a foreign land, sometimes that's all you need to keep going. Let's be real here. These are the folks who miss birthdays, weddings, anniversaries. They sit through FaceTime calls pretending the connection's not terrible just so they can catch 2 minutes of their kid's school recital. They save every coin, every spare cent, not for a new iPhone, but to send home for rice, school books, maybe a little something extra for grandma's arthritis pills. And still, they don't complain. They show up every single day with kindness, with patience, and often with better manners than most of us can manage in a Starbucks line. Meanwhile, the rest of us are over here stressed out because our food delivery took 35 minutes and the fries were only warm. You want perspective? Try working a 14-hour shift, wiping down hospital beds, only to go home to a shared apartment and video chat with your kid who says, "Mama, when are you coming home?" That's the weight these people carry, and they do it with grace, with humor, with the kind of inner strength that doesn't shout or pout. It just keeps going. It's the kind of strength that makes world leaders pause and rethink how they view the whole damn world. And now, after that moment, the ripple effects weren't just symbolic. This wasn't just an emotional blip in the news cycle sandwiched between the weather report and that story about the cat who dialed 911. No, this was the kind of story that got into people's hearts. Policy meetings were called. Labor rights were discussed. Not because a consultant made a slide deck, but because a nurse gave a gift and a prime minister cried. Suddenly, countries started wondering, are we doing enough for the people who are doing everything for us? The answer, obviously, was no. But at least now the question was on the table. You ever notice how the world only stops to pay attention once tears are involved? It's not enough to work until your hands are numb. Someone has to break down in a room full of people before anyone says, wow, you've been carrying a lot. Well, that's exactly what happened. Marin's voice broke, and in that moment, so did the illusion that everything was fine. It wasn't. It still isn't. But that crack, that beautiful, vulnerable crack, that's how the light gets in. And let's talk about light. Because if anyone knows how to bring it, it's a Filipino nurse in a fluorescent-lit hospital room at 2 a.m. They've got this uncanny ability to make even the most sterile place feel like home. You walk in with a cough and a broken heart, and somehow they fix both. They've got stories about love, about loss, about the cousin who got married twice and only told the family about one of them, about the time they saved a life and then got scolded by their mom on video chat for not combing their hair before the call. Real stories, honest ones, the kind that remind you we're all just trying to survive with a little dignity and a lot of grace. So no, this wasn't just about a bag. It wasn't about a speech. It was about the people who carry the world and rarely get credit for it. It was about the weight of care, the cost of compassion, and the quiet heroism that never makes the headlines. But this time it did. This time someone paused long enough to notice. And for once, the world looked past the title, past the language barriers, past the long hours and the paperwork and the bureaucracy, and saw the beating heart underneath it all. So next time you see someone doing the invisible work, whether it's cleaning a table, holding a hand, or sending money back home from a world away, take a second. Say thank you. Mean it. No hashtags, no drama. Just one human to another. Because the ones who carry us deserve more than just applause. They deserve respect, dignity, and maybe, just maybe, a little help carrying the load. You know, living here in BGC has been one of the greatest experiences of my life. It's got everything: shiny skyscrapers, world-class coffee, air-conditioned malls that double as cardio courses, and more cute dogs per square meter than should be legal. But it's not the architecture, or the weather, or even the Jollibee mascot waving at me with suspiciously unblinking eyes. It's the people, specifically the Filipinos I've met here in BGC. These people, man, they're something else. They've got this rare mix of humility and humor that makes you want to be a better person, without ever making you feel like you've failed at life. And believe me, I've failed at life in more creative ways than a reality TV contestant. Yet here they are, smiling, laughing, genuinely curious about how your day is going. Whether they're your barista, your security guard, your Grab driver, or the stranger holding the elevator door with a grin like you just made their week by showing up. The Filipinos I've met here have hearts the size of Rizal Park. They'll share stories, food, karaoke playlists, and unsolicited advice about your love life, whether you asked for it or not. And they've got this beautiful resilience. It's like no matter what's going on, typhoon, traffic, a minor existential crisis, they'll find a way to smile through it. Not a fake smile either. The kind that says, hey, it's tough, but we're tougher. Now, even though I absolutely love living here in BGC, the energy, the people, the late night quack runs, I get it. I really do. I understand why some Filipinos leave, why they take that leap, pack their bags, and head overseas. It's not because they don't love their country. They do. Fiercely, passionately. It's in every OFW who sends money home so their kid can have a better future. It's in every parent working 3 jobs abroad to build a house here brick by brick, dream by dream. They're not leaving because they don't love the Philippines. They're leaving because they do, because they want more for the people they care about. And sometimes, to give more, you've got to go far. You've got to brave cold winters, strange languages, and jobs that don't always appreciate you. But still they go, and they give, and they send love back home wrapped in balikbayan boxes and WhatsApp voice notes. So to every Filipino I've met here in BGC, and to those of you watching from thousands of miles away, I see you. I admire you. I respect the hell out of you. Your spirit, your warmth, your work ethic. It's world class. Truly. And I want to say something simple but important. God bless you all for everything you've done, for everything you keep doing, for carrying so much of the world's weight with so little recognition. You are the heartbeat of your country, whether you're here or halfway across the globe. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you.